I started looking for a. Let me get my settings straight here. Audio should be good. Right. So, yeah, I got my looking for a notebook. Welcome everybody to Mud Flood was Armageddon. The Mud Flood was the Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they are willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. Ah, here's this. I'm not even going to try to explain what I've got to get going here tonight. I'm just going to go ahead and do the thing, what I did today, where we're at. Not looking good, right? Everybody's going broke. The stock market doesn't have enough silver. This is the top of Pike's Peak. You got mules or donkeys. It's hard for me to tell the difference. It could be the ears. That looks like, oh, yeah, we had some blasting going on up here. This building foundation is still there. Why the time is ripe for Mormon mania. Boom, boom, boom. Uh-huh. They'll stay. No, I'm just. Hey, I watched the Bears game last night, and it had 33 seconds left, so I thought I'd take a picture. Didn't look like the Bears lost, but this guy was holding his baby and talking about it, so I gave him a thumbs up. I thought that was interesting. I know a lot of people care about the football. I looked at this, I thought that's funny. Maybe I should use that as a thumbnail. That's really all I had. But that's all we had. That's all we had. That's all we had. I did show the thing, right? This thing? Look at that thing. Uh-huh. I wonder what they connected to underneath. Is not Pikes Peak like every other mountain a hollowed out X? Well, it had two hospitals, a commissary, four cafeterias. Yeah, me too. These guys went on a trip. It may have when the foundations were laid. They built this railroad track along the edge of the canyon, or somebody did. I've never driven across or walked across it, but I've sure looked at it a lot, been there. It really is an amazing thing. They don't let you do this when I was down there 2014, 2015, making it a big deal. So I looked at that today. I looked at this today. Blimey, could you imagine if I was born over that wherever he's from? It'd be like looking in a mirror, except I would have been a lot younger. Don't fall into the trap. Buy some more silver. I wanted you to just get a look at hey, where are those 5 pictures? Let's look at that. That's not the one I wanted. Let's check this one out. That's not the good one either. Well, I guess we're not gonna look at the Summit House, except for these few pictures here. This is the old wall of it. You could kinda tell these are mostly blocks that, are as wide as they are long, rectangular, but mostly pretty thick wall. You can kinda get it here. This is snow on top. It looks like single rocks. How long it was there, it's a hollowed out mountain. The they call them savages, but I don't believe they were savages. They used it. They were there. They had something going on. Why wouldn't they? It was all hollowed out and ready to use. Let's see what else we got. There's a reservoir that was already there too. They did fix it up, modernize it. They have been, but they're saying it was damned in 1935. Well, I'll be damned if I believe anything they're trying to sell me. There's something going on weird with this reservoir. I even want to look at this. I do. I don't want to look at it on the beach. Oh, that's in Manitou Springs. This I got all kinds of mineral water around there. It's a pretty hidden history of the old past. Manitou Springs. Go, young man. Not yummy. Most of them are not yummy. Man, I used to hang out there. I liked it. Yeah, they said the people there that had tuberculosis to breathe the air, pay big money, and learn all the Renaissance weirdness. What are you is that yummy? Look at her face. Take a drink. You make a face. As long as you got money. These cliff dwellings in Manitou are fake, but they still work. It'd be hot as the dickens outside. You walk inside, and it's cool. But they brought them from somewhere else and just put them into a mountain. These are faked, and then transported to Manitou Springs. So what else you got? The Ghost Town Museum. I do. Why bother? Garden of God's Trading Post. Enough of that. Here. I want to start out with the scripture. We'll look at the royal feast of Xerxes. Xerxes, like this guy, him. This is the Bible guy they're talking about there. We're going to be talking about the Medes and the Persians, the Babylonians, Silver, Charlie Kirk, ruins. What did you say? Your life is in ruins? Well, you're in the Starfort movement, man. Come on, baby. Oh, that's look at that one. Darius, that's a guy in the Bible, usually assumed to be Xerxes. He made it up here because he didn't want anybody to mess with it. It's a good idea because they will mess with this stuff. They will. He married Queen Esther. That's what we're talking about. That's what I'm going to be showing you. This guy. He had to point his sword at you, like, oh, what do you want? I just wanted to talk. Okay, come on. Thanks for not killing me. No problem. You're my honey. Uh, we're not Daniel. Anyway, that's a lot of provinces that he ruled over because it was the Babylonians, the Medes, and the Persians, and their laws had to agree in the time of the Gentiles. Third year of his reign, that guy, Xerxes, held a feast for all his officials and his servants, and the military leaders of Persia and Media were there. Not only the military leaders, he invited the nobles and the princes and the of the provinces. They could come too. And so I want to have a party for half the year just to show off that our kingdoms are awesome and blessed like crazy. So at the end of the party, they were going to have the big blowout after party. I don't know how. I think you have the party after party together that ends it, and then they all say goodbye. Hanging white, blue linen, fastened on cords of fine white, purple material. Everything was there. It was the end of the party. Beverages were served in gold cups. I've never even, without a museum, I would have hard to believe there could be a gold cup. They're not a part of my life. Now, there was his wife, Vashti. She had a banquet for the men in the royal palace of King Xerxes. It wasn't her royal, it doesn't say in her royal palace. So on the seventh day, party winding down, he is good. He said, hey, you guys, these are probably Hebrews, but we don't know. But we know they're eunuchs. And he said, go get Queen Vashti so I can show her off and tell her to dress up. I want to display her beauty to the people and the officials because they're not going to believe how pretty my wife is. Queen Vashti, however, refused to come at her husband's command and told the eunuchs, go tell him I said no. And the king was pretty mad, and his anger was burned within him. But he didn't act rashly. He didn't go crazy. He just said, I should get the wise men together because I'm mad and I need to pause, settle down. What is going on? That's what he asked the wise men. A wise man seeks many counselors. He was a wise man. It was customary for him to confer with experts in the law and justice and see what's going on. He had these guys, Karshana, Sethar, Admatha, Tarshish, Meres, and Marsina, and Mamukan, and the 7 princes of Persia and Media who had personal access to the king and ranked highest in the kingdom. This guy knew how to seek out advice. According to law, what should be done to Queen Vashti? You know, I was pretty mad. She refused to obey the command of King Xerxes. That's me. I'm her husband. And I sent it by the eunuchs, and that means I was serious. Huh? And in the presence of the king and his princes, Memucan replied, Queen Vashti has wronged not only the king, but all the princes and all the peoples in all the provinces of the mighty King Xerxes. For the conduct of the queen will become known to all women, causing them to totally and utterly not trust their husband and say, King Xerxes ordered Queen Vashti to be brought before him, but she did not come. This very day, the noble women of Persia and Media, and remember, the Hebrews had to go along with this too because they were under him, who had heard about the queen's conduct will say the same thing to all the king's officials, resulting in much contempt and wrath. So if it pleases the king, let him issue a royal decree and let it be recorded in the laws of Persia and Media so that it cannot be repealed, that Vashti, not referring to her as queen anymore, shall never again enter the presence of King Xerxes, and that her royal position shall be given to another woman better than she, who won't act like the sounds like itch. The edict the king issues will be heard throughout his vast kingdom, so all women, from the least to the greatest, will honor their husbands. That is not going to go over today. There's going to be a wide road. People who are going to knock on the door on the day of judgment and say, but. Oh, maybe that already happened. The great throne. I don't even know if you get that chance. Kings and prince agreed happily with this counsel. So the king did as Memucan advised. He sent letters to all of those over 120 provinces in his kingdom, to each province in their own script, to each people in their own language, proclaiming that every man should be master, at least of his own household. How you doing? Still want your MTV? I don't know. I know this. I just want to read it again. Verse 21, Daniel chapter 5. He was driven away from mankind, and his mind was like that of a beast. He lived with the wild donkeys and ate grass like an ox. and his body was drenched with the dew of heaven until he acknowledged Elyon rules over the kingdom of mankind, setting over it whom he wishes. I know. Oh no, he only cares about the Israel. Huh? Well, then why am I reading this and looking this up? Look, man, you know who we're talking about, right? There is the most high top. I'm the top. It's used as an adjective to describe the God. Hey, who's the top upper, the highest of the highest God? Well, they all told them and said, now that you know how great our God is, shouldn't we rebuild the temple, the house of the true God? Yeah, we should. It's a great spirit God. God is a spirit. Those who worship him are demanded to worship him in spirit and in truth. This the flesh thing is for the angels to learn a lesson, and then we get redeemed along the way. So he's the most high God. He sets the rules, and you don't. And guess who doesn't either? Paco. Because it'd be a lot easier. Belshazzar's going down because he was not, the one that the Lord wished. So it all went down that day. And Darius the Mede. Now, I'll show you something weird. Did I look it up separately? I think I did. Look, why is there no number for Mede? They do not want you to know how many times this word, are you getting it? Is there anybody here laying down this stuff? Because what we're looking at here is it's not the only King James, Luther, and some of these other deals. Is why isn't there a Strong's number for the Medes? Darius the Mede, the man who said, God is setting this guy. You want to build that temple? Let's do it, man. We'll see what he said. But I'm trying to think it'd be overly dramatic, I guess, to set the stage here. He was the Mede. All I wanted to say is look up, okay, well, I know what he received. We know Darius. He's that king that, I've issued that decree. Hey, let's check the thing. They found a report later. And they said, well, it does look like Darius did write them a letter and say you can build it. And then he's in the book of Daniel, the important book, Matthew 24, the Messiah, Lord Christ, tells them if you want to know about the abomination of desolation and those things, look in Daniel. So it's Darius, but I mean, I searched that hard. I copied the word, how I just like I did that. So then I said, search it. It's mentioned in Daniel 6. Bible Hub. Yeah. Well, we just saw that. You don't tell us about the word. Daniel 7:11, verse by verse, it doesn't have that in it. Daniel 7 doesn't have it. This is not the word. That just means take. What does it have to do with Darius and his kingdom and what it was from to take to receive? 6:1, that's not one we're looking at. 7:18, neither. We're in chapter 5. Well, there it is. No, there it is. That's not it. partner. No, to acquire, receive, take. I don't know what. So we're not going to know, but we know it's something weird going on here. I want to look at the start of chapter 6. So Darius the Mede, and it pleased Darius to appoint 120 rulers that were going to run provinces. I guess he was big too. And over these 120, three of them, including Daniel. So he was way up there. I don't know if a lot of people realize that that's what he does. If you want to get influence to where, he falls in love with Daniel, and oh my gosh, you remember? Hope I'm he's going like, "Oh, I hope they didn't eat Daniel." That he's talking about the lions, and a number of other things. Shadrach, Meshach. This man was impressed by the God of the Hebrews, and he made that declaration. We got to make it happen. So he got them all pleased to appoint them. Got it all going. According to the law of the Medes and the Persian, the order stands. It can't be repealed. He had to do it, but he fasted and prayed all night. And then finally, there was nothing he could do. May your God, whom you serve continually, deliver you. And he spent the night fasting. The king, did he love his helper? Did he realize that praying all night, knowing what he can do? If Daniel's alive, those guys are going to be so sorry. And honestly, wow, does he go, I'm not saying overboard, but to the limit of extracting justice? Finally, Daniel replies, "O king, live forever." So the response is there. Servant of the living God, he knew, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to deliver you? No problem. God sent an angel and shut the mouths of the lions. They've not hurt me, for I was found innocent in his sight, and I have done no wrong against you, O king. The king that's working for the God of Israel now. The king is happy. Now, okay, hold on to it. Gave orders, take him out, no wounds whatsoever. Okay, the men who had falsely accused Daniel were brought and thrown in to the den of lions. Not only those men, their children and their wives. And before they had reached the bottom of the den, the lions overpowered and crushed on all their bones. King Darius wrote to the people of all, they got up there, 120, some different languages, no problem. Hey, I hope you're all happy. This is your king talking. And by the way, I hereby decree, and so it's a done deal, that in every part of my third of the world, men are to tremble in fear before the God of Daniel. And Xerxes was doing the same thing. And Babylon was doing the same thing. And God made it happen. And they came to the correct conclusion. Eliah, just the Most High God. Jesus is the living God. He endures forever. I stick with Jesus because it's so much easier into remembering all of those Greek and Hebrew terms. His kingdom, Jesus' kingdom, will never be destroyed. He's doing all of this thing. Yay. Daniel prospered during the reign of Darius and the reign of Cyrus the Persian. We want to know more about Medes. We just got shut down. Doobie doo down down. You know what is really another interesting one? The Rossom. What is your desire? That's your free will. Uh, Sometimes it's hard to for these things to favor, goodwill, acceptance, pleasure. Heard about it. Delight and will. Huh. Kind of looks like that other word, but don't they all look alike anyway? And in their self will, they dig down. Huh. Well, this is when he's. You remember this? I'm going to look it up because this is the whole leaning on his post. He blessed his sons, and he's laying it all down. 49, verse 6. Let's see. Who is he getting down at Dan right now? 49, verse 6. Nope, Simeon and Levi. Yep. Okay. Listen what they did. There's swords are weapons of violence. May I never enter their council. May I never join their assembly. For they kill men in their anger and hamstring oxen on a whim. Cursed be their anger, for it is strong, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I will disperse them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. Not so with Judah. Not so with Judah. Man. So this was that part. That they may be accepted. He shall offer it of his own voluntary will at the door. Somebody looking to be accepted has got to get down with this word. I am not, as I am, looking at it, every living thing. Okay. Every living thing. That's all of us. That's anything that I don't think everything except photosynthesis. I mean, I don't know. His hand opened up. I was looking at this because I was looking for a word. Oh, yeah. The satisfy thing. Desire. Satisfy your own desires. These guys, in their anger, they slew a man. They were using that hamstrung self-will. There was a lot going on before they started talking about let's sell Joseph and go Joseph. You know what I mean? So that there is something acceptable and favorable also. So we'll look at that. Get a flavor for these books, a flavor for the favor that we'll be seeking. Pretty strong root word, but wow. That's a lot for 56 words. The largest one is 15. Mostly one-time use. Surround him with favor. Thou compass. Oh, we'll look at that one. In verse 12. For surely you, O Lord, bless the righteous. You surround them with the shield of your favor. That's nice. We got that going for us. Where did I get here from? So that's that same thing by the finding the word. I just wanted to look up some of the words that said they had favor, and we did. So, satisfied again. How do you get satisfied? Have plenty, drink their fill. When is it appropriate? Psalm 132:15 is listed up there. I don't think I had that one. I wanted to look at the 99 occurrence, not I don't know where this looks like it's a catch-all for words. Negative occurrences warn of hearts filled with idolatry. So somehow you're going to be filled up with what we're doing, what's going on. And we certainly have our hands full with what's going on in the world today. There is something, Mead, a native of inhabitant of Media, well-known region of Asia, whose chief city was Ekbatana. We'll look at that later. It's used in Acts, so that you could find it in the Old Testament. There is one use of it in Acts 2:9. Parthians and Medes, Elamites. These people were just standing around, part of the crowd that of all the Gentiles who had been from whenever it was rebuilt. So all of these people, and so when it says Medes, and it means part of, it means 120 other practically provinces they could be talking about, or they could all be there. Residents of Mesopotamia. Well, that's vague because that means that's a big area. Asia, pretty big. They're not saying they were from the couple from this city and a couple from that city. They paid the bills. They turned it into a den of thieves to fleece these people and choose Barabbas. It's the only time that I can get Medes in the entire scripture. I think that's outrageous. Am I sharing the screen? Looks like it. What's this? Hey, this is brand new. Look at that. What's a conspiracy? He's a professor. I wish that the Lord would call him. Pray. You know, unless you're tying it to the mud flood was Armageddon, all these paradoxes and lost times and Anatoly Fomenko and everything else that he really gets into it in this one. But without Jesus, yay! The Illuminati handed them all of the information, and they just built back engineered, and it was all the Illuminati thing, plan of Satan, flood the Mississippi, ruin Hollywood. I want my MTV. No, it doesn't. No, he was being sarcastic. Uh-oh. I don't know, man. Hey, Zach Mac, did you see they shut down Telluride? The ski bums can't ski because the you can't make $21 an hour running the ski slopes in a town that is the richest town per capita in the United States. So they went on strike. Labor relations. He heard that train a coming. Standard Oil, come on. We're doing this because we can. We can, you can go watch the NFL football game, or you can watch the highlights later. Sure. And Carnegie too, and that their houses don't fit the timeline. Lucius, you've been doing this for 5 years. You got what? Huh. Wow. So it's the same thing, but is it Jesus? Is it Armageddon? Hey, RJ's on the phone. Hey, RJ, what's happening, man? Well, just to be specific, oh, are the videos not playing sound? Okay, yep, I should have checked it. Well, I see it was sounding good earlier. Give me another chance, RJ. Dang. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it, brother. Talk to you soon. All right. So I got something going on with the no video. Uh, Hold on. I hear it. Nobody else is hearing that? Because that was a big part of the deal. Really. How about if I ask, please, that if there are 9 people watching, if one could write in the comments, you didn't hear the video either. I guess he doesn't. So, uh, you could hear it, but you can't, was only listening. Man, oh man. I wish that I didn't have to be so confusing. We'll try to get to the bottom of that. In the meantime, I was going to do some yappity yap yap yap, and I think I'll do that. And that was going to be like the last YouTube thing anyway. I apologize. Come on now, load it up. These are some of these places. This one is for a Mede, Persian, Nineveh. We've seen these pictures before. You've probably seen that one. I searched for the what they called it in the picture, and it came up with Der Shuriken. Remember, this is the people that we went to there. Oh, I'm showing you another one. Wow, they're speaking in another language. I'm gonna close that one right now. Man, look at that. The pictures are worth it. So this town, let's check it out. You know, what is this? That's the top or part of the how to build a raft? Who did this? Man, huh. They could probably clean that up and take a picture. It says timber transportation. Now, when King Hiram of Nineveh was building for Solomon, Solomon supplied him with 80,000 people for timber alone. It took 3 years, and they would send out giant rafts and bring it back and finish it, and then they'd ship it together as a kit. You could put it together without the sound of a hammer being heard. They didn't even need the Lego deal. They just slid it in perfectly, and it was like, hey, look at me. There is another one like the Cyrus cylinder. They were very common And that would be like reading a book to you or me. And it explains, wow, the Bible's true. If you're being called to know God, make sure you're called, chosen, and faithful, realizing that his yoke is easy, his burden is light. I know you don't want to hear it, but it's a yoke, it is a burden. You're going to be yoked and burdened to something. How about a light, easy? These guys did it. The ones that wear the wristwatches and stuff. Maybe they're communicating, who knows? But they could communicate with stone. These were people paying him tribute, when they light up to go, okay, 120 of us got to come and say, you are number one. They don't look the same to me because, well, remember they were saying that they speak different languages. And when he sent them messages, he had people to go out, translate it. Then everybody was happy. Happy. They're carrying the throne. Here you go. Sargon. Man, people want to go into the Vatican Museum. I want to know what they took when they invaded Iraq in Desert Storm and then in after the fake 9/11. Look at that. Couple more. I'll bet you those bow and arrows were hard to pull back. They say Darius did that with 3 karate chops. No, I'm kidding. So that's it. We're back to where we started right there. That's one city. Either Medes and Persians, Nineveh. It's they say this is rebuilt. What part? The brick part? We're supposed to believe them? From 1778, Nunia, Nineveh, Medes and the Persians and the Babylonians. Really, you think that's they're we are reading that and they do find goblets of gold, but they decide they want to show you this one. We had to have a time when Adam and Eve needed pottery. And then later they needed the brass, and it wasn't long before Moses was going like, you know how to smelt the ore. Even Aaron could smelt gold, and Moses could refine it down to powder. So things got intelligent very quickly. We're looking at, all they're showing us from, the most magnificent kings in the world is very vague, and it makes, I think it sells short their kingdom. That was the prophet Jonah. So there it is. The Humvee and everybody, they're fighting over it right now because they want to get to the bottom of what that says on their magic spells, because maybe their magic isn't working as good as they want it to. Their adrenochrome is letting them down. Filicky again? Yeah, because nobody understands where they ever came up with the Trinity thing, trying to figure out, why they even needed to talk about more than God is a spirit, the eternal God spirit, and all of a sudden they're trying to go, well, maybe he was breathed out, or maybe he's not really the God, or he's a part of another one and he was activated. But anyway, during the Dark Ages, they had people disputing papal primacy. I doubt it. This is the rewrite of history. Early 600s? Well, the wheat and the tare are separating. It all comes down to they added this. There is, you insert the word filicky in ruled by a rod of iron, and you have to try to fake it, and you say that, well, it proceeds from the Father and the Son. That there is another God now, the Holy Spirit. So there's God Father, I guess, Spirit. The new Holy Spirit is not redundant to them. They needed the other Holy Spirit because the Son couldn't proceed from Spirit Father, but there he was. So, bingo bango, they consider that orthodoxy, and they will burn you alive. They have burned people alive, I should say. And I don't think they're going to, uh, goes back to their controversial. Don't you believe in Constantine and Josephus? No, no, I don't believe in Josephus. Josephus doesn't write about Armageddon, starting things over, and only the people survived that in the mountains that said, cover us from the wrath that's coming. There were sheep and goats, but those were the survivors, not everybody else in the world, because the Roman attack of Jerusalem was no big deal. Historically, all the other cities just kept dealing with Rome, no big problem. It's stupid. There's another town that's Medes or Persians or something. Assyrians. There we go. They're in the Bible. Assyria. Egypt, my beloved. Syria, my people. And Israel, mine inheritance. These people are probably not the real ones. They're just being told they are. You're found here when your relatives came out of the mountains not that long ago. But one thing's for sure, they weren't the ones with the Illuminati plans. That was Europe. And that spread from there of, well, we're going to make white people rule these people for a while. We're going to live it up large, drink adrenochrome, eat people, do whatever we have to do. You want to survive Roman Catholicism? Lord knows what she had to put up with. But she didn't die. No, she said, no, no, no. I'm having. These are the people that did not survive. They were genocided. Doesn't matter if you try to help them. When they finished with you, you're going to get a memorial for the genocide. What do we got here? Nestorianism. This is what they said. They claimed everything about that's wrong with the church happened because this guy didn't believe in the Trinity. So, Nestorianism articulated by him, it's vague. Didn't like the Council of Chalcedon adding Trinity and trying to act like everything was there. Didn't want people calling Mary a god bearer like she was, because they went right into worshiping Mary. I'm not saying I don't know enough about Nestorius and Nestorianism. All I know is that, you know, the people that liked him were genocided, the Assyrian churches. The whole, everybody in Assyria that believed in him, well, they got dead, super dead, right after here. Uh, where was that word Assyria I just saw? I want to look up Assyria. Let me look this word up because I'm going to add genocide to it. I don't think some of you believe that there was a genocide. Well, it doesn't quite make it up here. Well, it says World War I, and the Syrian genocide shattered cultural coherence and political unity that the community had strived to achieve for decades before the war. Estimates of upwards of 250,000. This number does not consider, you know, the permanent displacement of thousands of Assyrians from Turkey. And that's Asia, and that's where the book of Revelation was written to. They tortured their women. They did what they do. They did what they do. So historianism touched on it, feel good about, this notorious opponents found his teaching too close to the heresy of adoptionism. No, I believe we've been adopted, called, chosen, adopted. Let's see what else we got to move on here. So this guy made paintings. I pulled it up. When they want to smuggle in Russian art, it's going to be weird. So I looked at it. Wood carvings. This is what he saw. Late 50s, founder of the nonconformist art movement, sponsored by an American. The Gospel of John, ancient book, using the sculpture and script of ancient text. The tragedy of New York on September 11, 2001 inspired the artist to create a series of works on the theme Apocalypse 9/11. RJ, what do you think of that? He died at age 75, but, that is something. We showed him. Pull it. Pull it. The Fall of New Babylon. A September 11th commentary. Daniel 2:2, go and tell the Chaldeans, the sorcerers, that, they do translate this sorcerer sometimes as Medes, a witch, but is it Median? In Exodus, they're wise men and the sorcerers, and they couldn't figure it out. You can't allow one of them to live if we can't kill them now. That was then. It was pretty much, there were people doing bad things. I guess I thought I remembered it wrong. I thought it was part of the Medes and Persian thing. Oh, he did call in astrologers, magicians, the dreams, and the Chaldeans. Why are you so hasty? I'll tell you what's going to be happening. These are another group of people mentioned, the Elamites. One verse mentioned there when all the Gentiles had been informed, if you want to serve the Most High God, go to Israel. I'm rebuilding them a temple. So maybe we'll look at some of them. The Magi. Who were the Magi? Again, it says the wise men, but it also was the name of a certain sorcerer. Were they right? Were they wrong? Were they really doing anything wrong when they said, we want to worship the creator of the world, Jesus? Where is he? And a couple of other people have the same name, but all of a sudden, so they're bad, stupid, astrology worshiping evil people. I don't know. Are they doing anything to the brains around 1970 when they did the fiat money? They said enough, leave it to Beaver, Petticoat Junction. Goodbye, all the shows that you liked. We need to say goodbye to the most popular shows on TV, and we need to start, bringing in a new type of world, We didn't want that. They did replacement shows, Goodbye Wild Kingdom, and then it was Maud. Let's get a loudmouth woman to going through menopause to talk about, you know, I never watched it. Bob Newhart, I thought it was funny, but it was weird. MASH, it tell the truth. Those are gone. Sonny and Cher, prop up her. She just married another 38-year-old boyfriend. I think she's 90. Uh, they brought on the Mormons, Donnie and Marie. They did Hawaii Five-O, Police Woman, the Mod Squad. It was, laughing. Flip Wilson, sock it to me. And then how long until it was Mary Hartman, and then it's now it's R-rated all the time. So there's that Reservoir. Way to put that one out of order. 3 Mile, So it was something else inherited from them. A look at the history, the quick history of the bow and arrow. Been around those compound bows. Now look at that. That's getting it done right there. Got a quiver. I wouldn't say it's full. You got a lot too, making the bows and the arrows, but they're talked about in the Bible. You know what else is talked about that's weird? Every culture, so bow and arrows, I just showed you. They're in every culture around the world. You know what else is around the world? Everybody could drill into people's heads and they would live. They all knew how to do it. Like they all knew how to at one time talk the same language. There's no group of people that couldn't say, yeah, we got to do it. Weird, right? You know what else is weird? This is another one of those universal things. Types of calendars, charting the vernal equinoxes, stars, suns, understanding, all coming. They knew how long it was. They simply had different ways of dividing the days. We can call them primitive societies, but every society had a better grasp on what's going on than most people right now who believe in the globe. Sorry. We're just looking at a few universal things because metallurgy, it started in the Bible early. Find out, yeah, it's hard, it's dangerous, but it was done everywhere. The Bible assumed it was done by everyone. You know how to find it, you know how to make it, and they did. Moses knew how to grind it into powder. The wheel, it's everywhere. Everybody, don't say, oh, they didn't have the wheel. Yes, they did. Sometimes it wasn't as practical, but they always knew eventually they were going to get their electric cars, man, and jet pulses to Starlink and Vulcan to the moon. But everybody knew about the wheels, even the wheels in the sky. And another weird thing, because when they sped out from the Tower of Babel, they all wanted to build. They didn't wait to find out Jesus was the answer. They tried to provide their own sacrifices, making mummies. And this is not an easy thing to do. To make a mummy? cover them in gold, cover them in jade, mummified dogs, later use them in paint, eat them, makeup. But all cultures did it. It's not like all of a sudden, like, what'd you think of that? Well, their language was confused at the Tower of Babel, not the idea that they should go build pyramids, do these certain things, and, and provide their own sacrifices, not knowing that Jesus was going to be the sacrifice. Oh, they messed that one up. They all had something for zero, positional notations. They knew how to add, subtract, and they obviously had a zero. The whole thing, like, they didn't have a zero. Man, they interchanged base 60, base 10, uh, base 6. They didn't have a problem adding and subtracting. And there were only 9 numbers, but they knew what a zero was, and they knew zero is not a quantity. Numbers don't start at 0 and go to 1. The writing, there was more than oral traditions in here. These have been destroyed. There has always been forms of writing, whether it be pictograph or not. A lot has been covered up, but everybody in the world knew how to write. Now, I talked before about, and the thumbnail is my former pastor, one of these Chris Gerhardts, who I can't believe, this guy, they haven't done anything since 2015. This is when it all, I don't want to interject, but I had talked about how, our church was, really into the arts and things. So he did, there's the thumbnail and there's the camera that they were using. This guy was supposed to be a pastor, still trying to be a pastor somewhere, but I know some pretty good people who worked with them when they were young men and said they're never working with him again. He can frame a shot. He cannot write or, and the reason he always has a hat is he has the Donald Trump comb over. So, and yeah, he did for something for Showtime, go to cons and got a little taste, but I don't think it's ever going to be. Let's see, here's his sizzle reel. But all of this, nothing's happening since, I'm not saying since I left, but since I exposed him for being a fake. Yeah, we're not, I don't know if you hear it or not. I don't know. Did you hear the sizzle reel? Still no sound on the video. Okay. Well, you could tell from the sizzle reel, you know, they're he was trying to get work while he was being a full-time pastor and not telling everybody that he had this business. What else you got? Look at he had some people hire him, so they say, but they haven't updated their Facebook page for quite a while. Huh. Thought I had more on this. This is how I know a lot of these people, but I don't know a lot of them. He'll bring in tons of actors and redecorate the whole church at night. And then they would fix it up, and he wouldn't even tell him that he was the pastor. Little Kickstarter thing. Not too many, not too much happening here. So what else have we got here? The last thing is worldwide pyramids. Hey RJ, is anybody even hearing anything? Yeah, right. I for the longest time there I thought it was working, but I'm wrapping it up now. Here, uh I'm gonna put you on hold, okay? Okay, thanks, man. I love you like a rock. All right, so RJ is holding on. That wasn't sharing the last thing. Pyramids, the worldwide snow globe. There they are. There's the Tower of Babel. Everything leads up to this, the silver crash, that is going to happen, that is happening. That, wow, what are you going to do? Well, we're going to deal with it. I don't, yeah, I think we're going to deal with it. Somehow we made it through 2007 to 2009. I know I warned people then, quit taking trips to Bahama thinking that your equity is going to be safe. Nobody listened to me, and nobody said, I wish I would have listened to you later. They only just went broke. And right now, it's one of those times. Too big to fail banks are getting free passes right now. And the banks that aren't too big to fail, the people that are going to get margin call are your pension plans. And you people, I'm not trying to scare you. I want you to be in your right mind because it's going to happen. Well, it was just some loud rock and roll music too. I mean, because those videos, it was loud rock and roll. Thank you, everybody. I feel that right now I'm with everybody else. Uh, the colloidal silver is still working. We have to be healthy. It, it's all right there for us. Something's going to happen. You're going to be ready. It is going to be a flat earth nation with the golden age past because the mud flood was Armageddon. And my friends will tell you nothing else because we're trying to prove we have your best interest at heart. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakame. Adios, amigos.